Okay, we have another battle report. This time it's a game of my Bretonnians versus a Wood Elf army 2250. And it's kind of funny because normally in these battle reports I focus on the tactics and stuff and the thinking behind what I did and how it turned out. I'm tempted to involve more fluff. I mean, this one would have been just perfect. First off, it's Bretonnia versus their neighbors, the Wood Elves, who historically, even though they can be allies, they've had some problems. And secondly, we randomize terrain. There's either 5 or 6 pieces of terrain, and the most woods you would ever have would be 3. And in this one, we got 6 pieces of terrain, 3 were woods, and then with the Wood Elves adding a 4th wood, it felt like I was fighting in a forest almost. So you can see those 4 woods in the middle of the table, and there's a house on the right, there's a hill in the upper left, and on the lower left off the screen there's some impassable terrain. So if you look at my opponent's army starting at our right, he has some dryads. Next to the dryads are some treekin. Behind them, that's actually, the model is a wyvern, but it's supposed to be a highborn on a dragon. Then there's a treeman. There's a spellsinger level 1 mage. In front of him are some war dancers. In front of them is a great eagle, and then some glade guard. Next to them there's some wild riders, and there is a noble in with them. Then some dryads in front of them, more glade guard behind the hill, and then some glade riders on the other side of the hill. For me, on the last picture you saw, I had some peasant bowmen on my far right, and then on the lower right of this picture is another group of peasant bowmen. Then I have my general on a Pegasus, and if you're familiar with my reports, he is a large target killer. He's outfitted to have killing blow against large targets. Behind him are my fast calf peasants. Behind them are 5 Grail Knights, and there is a level 1 damsel with them. I've got some skirmishing bowmen, a 25 or a 20-man unit of men-at-arms, some Pegasus Knights, 2 big blocks of Knights Errant. There's 9 of them in the first one. In the second one there's 8, but I have my battle standard bearer in with that group, so they have 9 total. Then I have 10 men-at-arms. They're being proxied with some Empire Spearmen. I went ahead and gave those men-at-arms spears just to be a little bit true to the model. On the other side of the impassable terrain is another unit of Pegasus Knights, and completely out of the picture is a 9-man unit of Knights of the Realm. So what I'm thinking here is, for the most part, I'm not going to try to target his fast cap. I'm going to bring those Knights of the Realm to secure my flank and hopefully bear down towards the middle. I'm going to take my big blocks and try to cram him down his throat. With the army he has, it looks like he's pretty combat heavy, and I think he's going to be anxious to get into combat too. So my thinking there is just to go ahead and have at it. My general's just looking for either that treeman or his dragon to try to utilize my killing blow on large targets. So Wood Elf turn 1, you can see he really doesn't do a whole lot. He moves up. He's using his dryads partially as a screen, but you can tell he's trying to get them into combat first. He's hanging back a little bit with those wild riders, so I think that he's probably going to have them hang back so that if I beat his dryads in combat, he'll get a counter charge with those guys. You can see he took his spell singer, put him in the woods, his treeman's in the woods, his glade guard's in the woods, and his highborn on the dragon is hanging out behind the woods, making sure that I can't get the charge on him. So on my turn 1, you can see I go ahead and bring on the right hand side, my Knights of the Realm up around, trying to secure my flank. I bring the Pegasus Knights out because I want them to have the freedom to charge anything that I need them to charge. I take my 10-man unit of men-at-arms, and I think they're not going to really do me much good in combat here. I'm really just securing table quarters, or possibly to help out should he try to bring his fast cav around my flank and go in behind me. Anyway, you can see I bring my blocks of knights up. I'm keeping my general hanging back, just trying to keep an eye on the fields in case he gets any of his large targets out there. On the other side, you can't see it real well right here, but I'm just hanging back with my bowman because I'm shooting at anything he has that's flammable. Keeping my Pegasus Knights at the back of the board so he can't get his great eagle behind me and just march block me all day. And brought my fast cav up to shoot at that eagle, but I missed everything horribly. So this is a picture of my daughter. It's funny, you'll notice these pictures are taken from my opponent's side of the table. That's because my daughter was taking pictures for me. And I thought this was kind of a good one. And then she even did it one better and got really close up on my Knights Errant. So yeah, kind of like that. So anyway, Wood Elf turn 2. You can see he takes the Dryads and really pushes them forward and basically makes it so there's nothing I can do except charge him. And then you can see he has his Wild Riders held back behind the woods so that, assuming I beat his Dryads, which I should, he's going to plow into me with those guys. You can see he took his Highborn on the Dragon, parked it behind the woods so my general can't see him, and he's lined up for a flank attack on my Knights should I stand still, or even if I go into combat and win and overrun, he should still be able to get the charge on me. So I'm actually kind of a little bit scared right now about what he's doing there. On the right, you can barely see it. He has his fast cav on the outside flank of my Knights of the Realm. I know that. I'm not going to try to mess with them. He positioned them so that my Pegasus Knights could not see them and get the charge, which was smart because that's exactly what I would have done with those guys. And you can see on the other side of the board how he's taken his Dryads and marched them up pretty aggressively as well. So there's just another close-up picture of a half-painted Knights of the Realm. And this is a look on the other side of the board. You can see I took my level 1 Damsel out of the Grail Knights because she has the, I think it's Master the Wood, or whatever that spell is, that if it ever goes off, if you're in the wood, you do like D6, strength 6 hits, but all game long she was never able to get it off. But that's why she's out there. And here's another close-up. That Wyvern was pretty funny because the wings kept on falling off all game. But it's just a picture of the typical wing falling off. So, the first of my turn, because he has that dragon right there, it acted as a terror bomb. I had 2 big blocks of Knights. Well, that huge block of 9 Knights Errant failed the terror test, even though my general was right there. They fled, ran right, of course, right through the other Knights Errant and into that impassable terrain, and were completely destroyed. And luckily, that unit passed their panic test, because had they failed, they would have ran right into that impassable terrain, and that would have been the game right there. So that was a very, very unfortunate start for my turn, too. So what I decided to do, I took my Pegasus Knights that were set up to charge anything I could, and I charged his Highborn on the Dragon. I didn't really think I could beat him. I was tempted not to take the charge, because if I failed my terror test, I would have ran the other way, and that could have taken me off the board. But I was hoping to hold him up a turn, because I did not need him charging into the flank of my Knights Errant on his next turn. So that's why I decided to do that, and so they didn't fail the terror test, they got into combat with him. Another look at what's going on. On the upper left, it's a little bit confusing. I took the Pegasus Knights that you see fleeing off the board. I took him and charged his Great Eagle. He chose to flee. They pursued after him. When they came within an inch of his Treeman, they redirected the charge at him and had to take a terror test, and of course they failed the terror test and they fled all the way back, which caused my fast cab to flee, which caused those bowmen to flee, even though they haven't fled yet. They will. Yeah. I'm so tired of those Pegasus Knights failing fear and terror tests. But anyway, my Grail Knights, they charged the Dryads on that side of the board. You can see I took my Knights Errant and charged his Dryads. I was much more confident when I had 2 big blocks of Knights, but there was nothing I could do. That's all I had left, and I might as well do what I can. Here's just another picture of what's going on there. This is actually before I moved my general, because I moved him to the side to try to line up a charge on his Highborn on a Dragon should my Pegasus Knights hold him up for a couple rounds. There's another close-up there. My flanking unit of Knights of the Realm charged his Glade Guard. They fled, and he rolled a 12, which took them, one of the guys was off the board, so the whole unit was lost. So that was kind of unlucky for him on that side. So after combat, you can see that my Knights Errant took care of his Dryads. I lost a couple guys. They rolled really high for their overrun, so I'm set up for a flank charge by his Wild Riders, which isn't good. his Highborn of the Dragon beat my Pegasus Knights in combat and broke them and pursued him and ran him down, so that isn't good. And you can see at the very left-hand side, there's the corner of my general's base, so he's now out of range. He cannot charge the dragon like I was hoping he would, and it looks like I'm going to get charged by his treemen, so that was kind of interesting. So this stage of the game, I'm looking at it, and I'm not sure if I like how it's going or not. So far, I've killed more than he has. You can see my Grail Knights over here took care of his Dryads. So both his Dryads units are gone. He has a Glade Guard unit gone. I've lost a 9-man unit Knights Errant and a Pegasus Knight unit, so we're about even right now. And he's set up for some really nasty charges. So that's where we're at right now. We'll see how it goes starting in the next segment.